Hello, I'm Dennis Green with Church Development. Thank you for joining me in this brief TED Talk-like presentation on how to prepare for a church capital campaign in the fall of 2022. We'll move really quickly, and I'm open for lots of questions as we proceed. I'll cover about 25 years of experience in about 10 minutes. So if you're thinking about a church capital campaign, you can share this information with staff and volunteers who are helping you on this. I'll email it to you after we are done. We'll cover these 6 topics very quickly. The moment you're aware that your church needs a capital campaign, that's time to do step number 1, engaging your leaders in thinking through the problem. Number 2 is gathering information so that you're informed about the metrics. What are the things you can measure about the challenge that faces you? How you can build consensus. I've got some free resources to give you. How to conduct a feasibility study. This is a standard best practice that everybody's been through a capital campaign knows is very important. I'll talk about how long does it take, how much time does it take, what does it cost, and what do you get out of it. And number 5, how important it is to communicate, and I've got a roadmap of the different ways to do that. This will all prepare you to do number 6, leap into action. So a little bit about church development. I've been doing this since 1992 and have helped hundreds of churches and raised a ton of money. We're very different from the way we approach this. The ask is based in prayer and not pressure, so it's very gentle. We usually raise 2.5 to 3 times annual giving. We're with you for 3 years afterwards. We also help launch a planned giving effort, which we have just started at St. Charles Borromeo, and we're just rolling into at Prince of Peace Catholic Parish. It works and people like it. They feel like it's a ministry. We're based on scripture, but we proceed with a great deal of research. We've got over 30 years of experience and raised more than $1 billion helping lots of churches. If you give me a call, I'll send you a copy of this book. It's free. We give it away. It's got a lot of information in there. We borrow from other sources as well, like the corporate world and academic world, that we include to benefit churches. So when you're preparing for a church capital campaign, the moment you get an inkling that you're going to need to raise additional money beyond your budget through a capital campaign, that's the time to engage leaders in a dialogue so that you're not alone, that you're thinking this through. Of course, your first group is going to be those people who reside on a formal committee for leadership. It could be your pastoral council or parish or finance council, one of those, where you've got to begin that dialogue, then expand that to past leaders. Then I would encourage you to look at your top donors. Usually in a capital campaign, about half of all the money that is raised comes from about 12 donors. There's something interesting about that number 12, but it is the backbone of funding. So I encourage you to engage those people right away. And you just have to do one thing, ask their opinion. We have this problem. What do you think we should do? And that begins the dialogue. You'll find somebody, if let's say you talk to 10 people, you'll find one of them that the Spirit moves them and they're inspired to be a leader. Well, that's a blessing from God. So facilitate their leadership. We did, this is a case study, Visitation Parish, where I grew up. We managed their 4th capital campaign of 4 in a row. And everybody was suffering donor burnout. The key was us listening to the leaders and asking them, letting them know straight up, we've raised a lot of money and made a lot of big improvements, but we still owe a large chunk of money. Should we just hold tight and take the money out of our operating budget, or should we do another capital campaign? Consensus after talking to a lot of leaders was do another one. People will complain, but they will give. And they did. And we were a success. We paid off the debt. Worked wonderfully. Step number 2, you got to gather a ton of information. So we've really got to define what's the nature of the problem. This is Prince of Peace Parish in Nebraska. And their problem was they did not have a narthex. So when you came out of church, you're out in the woods, you're in the wind and the rain and the cold weather. And so if we were to build a narthex, how big would it be? What would it cost per square foot, and what else would happen there? They ended up putting their offices adjacent to the new narthex. Well, it's a square footage that we could measure, and we know that visitors don't like to come right out of a church and right into the cold. That's like the church. When I was a young person, there was, a phone booth was the size of the narthex. So we could really measure the impact. We could estimate the cost. As a matter of fact, it was quite easy to get some ballpark estimates from several different builders. That gave us a sense of the solutions, our options to proceed with, which was the basis for building consensus. So we presented those options. We had a series of town hall meetings. We handed out a very brief survey where people could just circle and check boxes about what are their preferences. So we asked everybody in the entire parish for input. This worked really well at St. Charles Borromeo. We just are wrapping up a capital campaign there right now. We raised about 1.7 million. Very unusual. We received some significant gifts from outside the parish. That's a blessing. With some parishes, like the one I'm about to cover after this, they also received funds from outside the parish. Listening to the will of the people is very important, because we sure don't want to force things down their throats. A voluntary donor doesn't like that. So we want to engage them. We want to present the information, ask for their input, and they did. And they did this wonderfully at many different town hall meetings. And the result was a pretty bountiful level of generosity. At St. James and St. Joseph, we conducted this feasibility study, and we had a gift from outside the parish. We began exploring the possibility of that. And our feasibility study really helped us understand that this is not only possible, but this is actually conceivable. And we got a leadership gift of about $1 million towards the roof project. And it was more than just the roof. It was the structure of the roof. It was a big deal to peel that roof off. But in this feasibility study, we did 30 interviews. We had about 60 people involved. We did online and paper surveys and went out to everybody who ever had anything to do with the parish. We gathered a ton of data. The result was a really good report. It's pretty thick, a lot of specifics, a lot of recommendations, but most importantly, it told us how much can we raise, and then how do we need to proceed. Well, it was a smashing success. We rolled right from the campaign right into the construction project, and the parish was very happy about this. Now, St. Thomas More, we've done 3 capital campaigns there. We learned how important it was to communicate. So you see the newest part of this is the portico for cars. The second newest part is the glassed in new narthex. And that was just extremely important to the sense of community in the parish. And we had a handful of people who were just dead set against it. But we discovered that more than 90% of the congregation was in support of the project. But those few people who were angry and upset and thought it was a horrible idea just assumed everybody felt that way. So we had to communicate over and over and over that more than 90% of the congregation was wholly supportive of that new expansion. And since it's been up, years have gone by and people just absolutely love it. But this St. Thomas More experience illustrates how important it is that you communicate by newsletter, video, email, social media, and the bulletin announcements, so that everybody is bombarded of a total awareness of what's the project, why are we doing it, and what does our level of support look like. These are critical. It takes time and energy, but it's absolutely vital. Okay, so I'm going to summarize and I'm going to throw in 2 bonus points. If you're thinking about a fall capital campaign, it's important to leap into action right now. Engage your leaders, find somebody who is passionate about that. Gather information so that you're informed, so it's not just guesstimates. Build consensus by lots of engagement. It's not expensive, but it does take a little bit of time. Do a feasibility study so you got some rational basis for decision making. Communicate, communicate, communicate over and over in every way that you possibly can. Now, time to leap into action. Do this now. Now, 2 bonus topics. Giving has actually gone up in spite of COVID, and the giving increase is happening at the upper end. Giving Tuesday was up 9% last year. Overall giving is up at about $470 billion in our country. Foundation giving is up about 20%. And believe it or not, the number of millionaires in our country has increased from 3% to 9% of the population. And those are the folks who are making big leadership gifts. It makes it look a lot like this pyramid. Well, you will have a dozen people give about half of what all you are going to raise. So the 80-20 principle has now become 90-10. So facilitate that, welcome that, invite that, and you can make this happen. Now, if I can help you proceed in your plans, give me a call. I can get you these resources. They don't cost you anything to talk to an expert. I can get you a visioning facilitator, a facilities cost estimator, a church loan expert, and I'm the capital campaign consultant. We're all willing to talk to you for free to set you on the right path. Whether you hire us or not is another issue. It is up to you. But if I can help, give me a call. Here's my name and my phone number. I will send you this, or you can just reply to the email that you received in them. But thank you so much for your role leading the church, and I look forward to the opportunities to serve you. Thank you, and God bless. Bye-bye.